Hey everyone, welcome back to Intro to DJing, and in this video I'm going to show you two emergency exit transitions here in DJay. This is the Reverb Out and the Echo Out. Now by emergency exit transitions, what I mean are transitions where you need to quickly get out of a song that you're playing. Say you're playing a song and you really realize that this song is not going over well, the audience isn't liking it, and you want to quickly switch to a different song or switch genres or BPMs. This is a quick way to get out of a song no matter what. The other time it's really useful is say you're DJing and the promoter comes up and says, hey, we need you to play some hip hop. We got this person coming in here spending a lot of money. This is where it'd be really nice to, if you're playing EDM, go ahead, do an echo out or a reverb out, and then switch very quickly. So to do this, I'm going to load up two completely different songs. One is this R&B track. And the other is going to be basically an EDM track at 138 beats per minute. So to do this transition, what we're going to do is use the effects unit, and it's really important that you have these effects routed in post fader mode, not pre-fader, which means basically when you apply the effect, it happens after this fader, not before it. If it happens before the effect, turning this fader down is going to cut the sound and the tail, whereas doing it after means you're going to have this tail wash over the sound even when you kill the sound. So the way to do this is you go to DJ and you go to settings, and if you go under the sound tab, you'll see there is FX routing, pre-fader and post-fader. We want it to be post-fader, that way when we're applying the effect, we hear it. So this is what the difference is. I'm playing this track and I apply the echo. That's post-fader. This is pre-fader. We want to use post-fader so we get that nice echo. So the way this is going to work is we're going to do this in several steps. The first step is going to be step 1. Make sure that your dry wet on the effect you want to trigger is all the way off. So that means the dry signal, there's no effects applied. The wet signal is 100% effects and none of the original signal. So we want to make sure this is all the way to dry, which is basically like the effect being off. Step number 2, we're going to turn the effect on the deck that we want to apply it to. By default here in DJay, these 3 effects are applied to deck 1 over here, and these 3 effects are applied to deck 2. So if we're mixing from this song to this song, we're going to apply it on the track that we want to mix out of. Step 3, we're going to increase the dry wet all the way to the wet amount. Step 4, we're going to kill the fader. You can do it immediately because that's going to create that tail. And as that tail is washing over, you can go ahead and fade in this track or simply play it at a point where it's natural to start it, where it's not too abrupt and you're sort of mixing it in. The other thing, you want to make sure that you basically set a time that makes sense. So for this echo, I'm going to just choose maybe 3/4 or maybe 1 beat. Let's see what sounds the best. I think that sounds the best, so that's what we are going to use. So I'm going to set the crossfader in the middle, and I will walk you through the way this works very quickly. So it goes like this. Step 1, make sure our dry signal, our effect is off and the dry is all the way down. Step number 2, turn on the effect. Step 3, increase the dry wet. Step 4, cut the fader. And step 5, press play. Notice here how I did not do anything special in terms of syncing these tracks or anything like that. This track says it's 132 beats per minute, but really it's at 66 beats per minute half time. So that's the way to do it. Let me do this one more time, except I'm going to do it really quickly so you get a feel for what it would sound like without me talking over it. Once again, make sure the effect is off. It's also important once you do the effect to turn it off because you don't want to be playing this track, mixing in a new track over here and your effect is still on all the way. I've done this a million times. You'll make this mistake too until you learn to turn your effect off before you start mixing back in. And this will not come through your headphones pre-cueing because this is done post-fader. So keep that in mind. really good practice is just make sure you turn your effect off once you're done using it. So let's go ahead and do this.
Stone and begin to styrofoam, dial tones, waiting patient by the phone.
That is pretty great. If you want to cheat or you want to just do this the lazy way, you can also go to the instant effects and there's just an echo out. So if you have this in hold mode, you can just click on the echo out button and it will do this pretty much super easily. So let me show you what this would sound like. You don't even have to worry about fading this out. You can just basically click the button and start this track where you want to start it. So this is what this would sound like.
Stone and begin to styrofoam, dial tones, waiting patient by the phone in my.
Pretty cool, so you get the idea. The other effect I want to show you is the Reverb Out. We can of course use the instant effect from here, or we can do it the manual way. So let me show you the manual way first. First, I'm going to actually select the reverb here from the audio effects. So we're going to go ahead and find it. It looks like it's here under the, here it is, Essentials, Reverb. And this, I believe, controls the size. So we want to make sure we select the size that is appropriate for these Reverb Out type of effects. Usually the largest size or near the largest is great. So let's go ahead and listen. So that's not going to do a lot, whereas this is really going to create that big reverb effect that we want. So once again, the same steps as before. Step 1, make sure your dry wet is down or the effect is completely off, turned down. Step 2, turn the effect on. 3, increase the dry wet. 4, cut the fader. And 5, start the track at its natural place. So let's go ahead and try doing this again.
Stone and begin to styrofoam, dial tones, waiting patient by the phone in my apartment.
Once again, remembering to turn that reverb off after the fact, which is going to be really helpful. This is a great transition if you really need to do this, but you don't want to be doing this too much because it is abrupt. It does kind of interrupt the dance floor a little bit, but every once in a while, it's okay. Lastly, let's go ahead and hear what that Reverb Out sounds like applied to this track. So suppose this track is playing and I want to mix in this track. We want to make sure the up fader is set up. It can be done by just resetting it. I'm just going to go ahead and click it. As cool as these are, and once again, you want to make sure this is turned off, because if you try to play this at any other point in the track, it's not going to work while this thing is applied. But as a bonus, you also have this FX landing, which is really cool. It basically does a nice little out transition, which is really neat. So this is what this sounds like, which you can basically use to do the same thing. Another emergency exit option that you really only have here with DJay, with none of the other DJay applications. Once again, this is just a version of the Echo Out, but with a noise sweep added to it and maybe a filter sweep as well, which is pretty neat. So find a version that works well for you and practice getting comfortable mixing out of songs quickly, because you may need to do this. Of course, the gold standard most of the time is your beat match transitions, your fading transitions or your cutting transitions, but often, especially if you're doing open format type of things, it's important to be able to move very quickly, and that's what that'll allow you to do. So hope you found this helpful, and I will see you in the next video.